employees are on. With the craft plan and the two JFP plans, switching, there's definitely going to be a savings to switch from the current plan either way. Switching from the current plan to the craft plan saved the Jackson Housing Commission $123,346.09 because the craft plan did not include health care for out-of-state retirees or a stipend or any type of number that I could use. Asked JFP to provide an estimate for out-of-state retirees or the PPO type plan. That way we could compare what we have to similar things. Switching from the current plan to the city's BCN 5000 plan saved the Jackson Housing Commission $139,953.62 over the current plan. Third page, I kind of ran down the entire deductible, office visit copay, and all those charges that an employee would have to pay, and also what the Housing Commission would have to pay. And the final 3 pages are kind of scenarios for an employee cost on the different plans. The employer cost to go with the JFP BCN 5000 is savings of $7,087.58. The employees could possibly save $800, over $800 for the single rate on this scenario, over almost $600 on the BCN 5000 over the craft plan for a 2-person rate, and $643.50 on the family rate. And just so that you're aware, on the BCN 5000, even though it's a high deductible plan, the city pays, well, it's $4,500 for, or I'm sorry, $5,000 for single rate. For two-person and family rate, it's $10,000. On a single rate, the employee is responsible for the first $500, and on the two-person and family rate, the employee is responsible for the first $1,000. The balance is picked up by the city. And then the last page is just kind of a summary of how the retirees look on these different plans. We're going with the BCN 5000, or the current city Medicare account, sorry, it's savings of $9,518.96 to go with the city plan.
When we look at you talk about the 500,000, that's the first 500, or is that?
And that only applies, for hospital, X-ray, stuff like that. It doesn't, your deductible doesn't apply to, office visits, specialists, chiropractic, preventive service, urgent care, or emergency room.
That's just
Basically the hospitalization stuff.
Okay. And the 5,000, is that the maximum out of pocket? Is that what the 5,000 plan?
No, the 5,000 is the deductible, and well, it's 5,000 for single, 10,000 for 2-person or family. And the city of Jackson picks up $4,500 on the single rate, and on the 2-person and the family rates, they pay $9,000. So they kind of self-insure on the deductible.
So the city of Jackson plan is less expensive and offers more coverage.
I think coverages are probably about the same. You can see like prescription drug coverage are the same.
But the city of Jackson's plan also includes out-of-state.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And the other does not.
That's correct.
I would say that that's more coverage.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I was thinking of the active employees. The, also on the employee costs, of course, the employees are required to pay 20% of the premium due to whatever the state decides to do. On the single rate, the DCN 5,000 will cost an employee $23.11 more. And I believe that is per month. On the two-person rate, didn't I do that? Oh, I'm sorry, I have an extra one here. I'm sorry. On the two-person rate, the employees save $16.49. There are 7 employees that would receive that benefit. And then on the family rate, the employees save $62.50. There are 9 employees that fall under that rate. And that's per month, taking the DCN 5,000 versus the credit plan.
Is there a question? My first question is, our last meeting, we took a vote on the health care issue, and the health care issue at that time was passed. I'm having a problem understanding how we got to this point again, with the vote being taken, a valid vote for health care, and, how a restraining order and all that got in effect when a vote was taken, by this board. So,
Okay.
for just a moment.
Okay. Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
for this, board to now come back to this,
Mhm.
I have a problem with that because each commissioner here made a vote. So you're telling me that our vote didn't count, right? Because you went, after that vote, whoever went to the city, and somehow the city got a resolution and came back with a restraining order. So my problem with that is every vote that is taken, if it's not in your favor, we have to come back and revisit it, because this vote was taken, it was valid, all members were here. And every other vote that was taken at that meeting was not overturned, because it was in the favor. So,
And, yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, that's what I do.
no. So, with that being said, each board member vote, had a voice in what was said. Mr. Stark was the turning vote at that meeting. So I'm just asking a question, how did we get here with this being backpedaled? I feel like this should have been done in the beginning so that you're the one who brought up the issue of healthcare and taking the vote. So I feel like now we're here at a special meeting, to go over the same thing that we went over. I'm feeling like a lot of these decisions need to be in the beginning, taking time to be researched and all that, so that we don't have to come back again and go over it if it's not in the favor of whoever.
I couldn't agree with you more, but if you.
Madam President, I made the motion, could I please respond to that?
Oh, sure.
I agree with what you're saying 100%. The problem was we didn't have this data available to us at the time we were requested to make the vote.
We knew that.
I absolutely knew that, and if you'll recall during that meeting, I made my vote with a proviso. The only reason I was doing it was because the inference was that they had to have 45-day notice at the insurance company level in order to make it an effective plan. And I did not want the employees of the Jackson Housing Commission to lose their health care coverage because we did not take action on providing them coverage. Subsequent to that, we received the information relative to the various plans that are available. Analyzing that says that this commission can save $16,000 over what we had voted on before and get more coverage by allowing more of the retirees that come under the plan than what the plan was we voted on. That is the reason I said we should reconsider, because this is crazy to go for a plan that doesn't give us as much it costs us more. Now that we've got the data, we can make that kind of decision.
Okay, but I still feel like a decision was made at the last board meeting. After we left, I don't know who got together or who did what, but each commissioner's voice was not heard as to being privy to this information. These numbers are based, are they not, Madam President, on Housing Commission staying with the city's plan under JFB? And craft agency's numbers are, if we go on our own, with our own our own federal number, which we do have.
I understand
So you're still trying to tie it to the city, and that's the reason
I'm trying to
that
say,
it's so low.
the reason it's so low is because that's the plan that they presented. I'm trying to save the Jackson Housing Commission money, I'm trying to save the employees money. This is what happens when you're presented with a major resolution and asked to vote on it with no documentation, no backup, no time to review it ahead of time. Now, we went on the interim executive director's recommendation to vote on that, and as Mr. Stark said, it was voiced that the employees would be without health care benefits as of July 1, and that is not true. The employees will stay on the city VCN plan until the city removes them.
But was it not for Jackson Housing Commission to separate from the city's plan? Because there was a conflict.
I have not heard this board take that kind of action. I have not seen it in the minutes. It has not been approved by this board. It is the goal of the Detroit field office to have a separation. And as far as I know, it is not the goal of this board as a whole.
It was the goal of this board. It might
You would
not be
have to
now.
show, you would have to
It
show
might
me
not
where
be
it
now,
is.
but it was.
You would have to show me where it was voiced and voted on, that a separation was the intent in the direction, because I have not seen it in the minutes.
I'm not understanding what you mean by seeing it in the minutes. You seen that, there was separation processes started. You seen letters from us that said,
Well, HUD does not set local policy, that's what this board does. This board has not taken action, say it wants the executive director to separate from the city. That separation needs to be negotiated if it's to be done properly and not done passively and behind everybody's back and trying to be sneaky.
and behind who's that? That's
Behind the city's back. The city is the authorizing, agency or whatever. They authorize the commission or the housing authority. They also, the mayor also has and will retain, even if we separate, the authority to appoint board members. The city also is authorized under ordinance and will retain to, review and approve compensation packages of officers and employees. So there will never be a complete separation from the city.
No, that's not complete. I know those things, but I'm talking as far as services that are provided.
I have not seen that this board authorized the former executive director or the interim executive director to take those steps.
It was not, I don't understand what you're saying, authorized by whom?
The board. The board sets local policy. The board would have to say, this is what we want to do, let's vote on it. I have not seen that.
Well, before you came on, the board had directed Mr. Hill.
I have
He
not
has
seen
spoken
that.
with us. And we had-
I saw that he talked to the board. I did not see that there was any action taken by the board to authorize him to go forward.
Yes, Ms. Martin had offered to go.
Ms.
But I'm
Martin
just
is
saying,
just one
but still, I'm
person.
just saying, a vote was taken, and that's the problem I have. A vote was taken.
I did
And,
not see that in a minute.
no, last meeting, a vote was taken.
It was.
And as soon as that vote was taken, it was not in the favor, so, somehow the city got a copy of the resolution.
No, it wasn't that it wasn't in the favor, it was because we didn't have the documentation, we weren't able to make an informed decision at the time.
Okay, so we made a couple of other decisions that were not informed decisions. that we now have to go back. You said,
Such as what?
such as the procurement allowance at 5,000. You did not have the information. You said, let us research it after the fact, after the vote was taken.
We set a limit, and we said if you could come back and show us that this is too low, you know, through documentation, through polling other similar sized housing authorities and stuff, we would reconsider.
But this is
Raising
what I'm
the limit.
saying. Let's not make, let's make informed decisions beforehand, so we don't have to keep going back and revisiting these
That's the
votes
way,
that we've made.
that's the way boards and commissions work. You don't,
Well, this board never worked that way.
well, it's working that way now.
We did not have the information one meeting ago to make an informed decision, and I agree with you 100%. Every decision we make should be an informed decision. We didn't have the data available to us to do that.
So I feel that we should not have taken the vote.
Well, then we run into the problem that the employees face the possibility, based on the information we were given, that they would lose their health care coverage. Is that what you wanted to do?
I wanted to be informed.
You know,
And we were not.
I just think that we need to do what's best for the employees of this
Right.
organization. We need to be stewards of the funds that we control, of the assets that we control, and that's our job. You know, I've been on this thing for what? This is a month? 6 weeks? And, you know, having not known what the situation was, relationship between the city, the Housing Commission, and HUD, I got into it pretty deeply. And I can tell you that there seem to be some misconceptions based on verbiage that I've heard through this board even about what the position of the Jackson, this board of commissioners, or the Housing Commission, what our responsibility is. The commission was established in the 1960s by the city of Jackson. They built this building at that time. In the process, they established a board that was under the supervision or appointed by the city commissioners. That board is responsible to the city commissioners in that they are at the leisure, they operate at the leisure of the city commission. If the city commission does not like the performance of a specific board member or any board member, they can replace them. But once you're on this board, you control the actions and the assets of the Housing Commission. We have over 700 properties from what I understand. Our responsibility is to manage those properties as best as we can. The board doesn't do that directly. The board hires an executive director whose responsibility is to do that, to not only manage the properties, hire the people, and manage the people that perform those functions. The executive director serves at the behest of the board. Neither HUD nor any other organization, including the city, has anything to say about what we do in this council. They don't. If they don't like it, the city could get rid of me, get rid of you, get rid of Jerry. Commissioners, all they have to do is ask for our resignation. Same goes for our relationship with the executive director. If she's not performing, or he, or whoever it is at the time, to the standards that we expect, we can ask for a resignation. So, but HUD has nothing to do with it. Too often I have seen in the communications that I've been reading through since I've been here, a reliance on HUD for information or guidance that is either improper or in many cases wrong. HUD should not be establishing policy for us. We are the board. You, me, Arlene, we are the ones. We set this stuff. We don't have to go outside to get guidance on how to run this. If we start running it inappropriately, yeah, HUD could say, you're not spending our money wisely, we're gonna take it. Or they could say, you've done something with malfeasance, and not only are we gonna take our money back, but we're going to prosecute you. Now, they can do that because they're the ones that supply the money. If we misappropriate or malappropriate the funds, that's our responsibility, and we have to suffer that. But that's the only relationship they have. They have no control over us. So we have to understand that.
And how can we understand that when it's HUD funding, it's HUD money?
That's the relationship that HUD has with the tenants. The tenants' relationship is with HUD. They get a specific amount of money from HUD to help in paying their rent. We have nothing to do with that relationship. And we have nothing to do with their relationship with HUD.
The HUD has to set some sort of limit, like you said, this is their money, this is their funding.
Exactly.
They have a ton of rules and regulations, I mean, I have books and books and books, but that is specific to the funding sources.
Now, that's my understanding of the situation. I think it's pretty well
Yeah,
spot on.
it is. It is. Any comments, Mr. Montgomery?
Pretty well covered what I.
All right. Well, I guess I'll call for the vote then. We'll need a roll call.
Well,
Oh, wait a minute, we didn't even.
we haven't had a motion.
Yeah, we do, don't we? I forgot.
I would say the first motion would be to rescind the actions we have taken.
We already
They're all
voted.
planned out.
Well,
No, we voted
no,
on.
that's right, reconsider.
Reconsider.
Yep, yes,
I
sir.
say the first motion would be to rescind our vote from the previous meeting based on two data that's available showing that we can save over $16,000, providing better coverage for our retirees and actually save the employees money overall. And make it, and to cancel that arrangement.
Yeah, I'll second the motion. Yeah, why don't we?
Commissioner Stark,
Yes.
Commissioner Bates-Stein,
No.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Montgomery,
Yes.
Commissioner Opus.
Yes. So the previous approval has been rescinded. I'll now entertain a motion for selecting a healthcare plan.
I'll make that motion.
Which plan is your PCN 5,000 from the city?
Yeah, you need to decide.
The city plan, saves 16,000 benefits.
Okay, for clarification, that would be the BCN 5,000. Is there a second to the motion?
I second it.
Roll call.
Commissioner Stark,
Yes.
Commissioner Bates-Stein,
No.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Montgomery,
Yes.
Commissioner Opus.
Yes. Okay, the healthcare plan selected by this board, approved by this board, is the BCN 5,000 through the city of Jackson. Okay, our next item of business is the auto insurance, and I just wanted to get this so it's off our plates and the executive director can go forward with getting that in place. We were presented with, well, we weren't presented on May 15th, that's why we did what was postponed to the June meeting, but I called it for the special meetings, we can take care of it now. We were presented with a naked resolution as we had before, so we weren't able to make an informed decision. We received the bid information a day or two later, and two bids were received, one by the Housing Authority Insurance Group in the amount of $8,481 or $942.33 per vehicle, and also from the Craft Agency, which would be through the Hanover Insurance Group of $8,942, which would amount to $993.05 per vehicle. I do want to state that had we not started looking for another insurance policy, we would, the JHC would be paying annual fee or an annual rate of $3,833 because we started looking at separate auto insurance policies, the MML, who I believe is the city's insurance provider, and I don't know who the insurance actually through. They discovered that they should not have been insuring JHC automobiles is, they have to be titled in the city's name. So there's no going back on this one. So what we're gonna have to do is select between the two bids that were received. And I would make a motion to, contract with the Housing Authority Insurance Group in the amount of $8,481.
I'll support that.
And I also want to make it clear, I know you stated in an email that I instructed the city attorney to remove us.
I did apologize for that because it was, I misread what Jules had said, or his comment to you. I took it that you had instructed him to remove,
I
but,
have not.
right, I have since found that out, and I sent my apologies to you. But it was from the actions taken to begin looking for a separate auto insurance policy that they found out they shouldn't have even been doing for in the first place. So, but like I say, the MML does say that, they can't cover, JC vehicles as long as they're tied to the JC, not the city, so. There's been a motion and support, is there any more discussion?
If this one we're considering, is that the cheapest one you take?
Yes. Okay, call for the vote.
Commissioner Stark,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis-Stein,
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Montgomery,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. We're going to see, agreed. Yeah. Okay. The last matter on our agenda is personnel matters. I'd like to be discussing the performance of our interim executive director, and I would offer to you an executive session if so desired. It's been difficult. This is a unhealthy board. And I don't think it's, there's just too much unnecessary stuff going on. It's just not right. For those reasons, I would like to make a motion to terminate Tim Truman from the Jackson Housing Commission.
I'll support that motion with comments.
Yes, sir?
Should I make a comment?
Oh, yes, please.
As I said earlier, I've been here for a short period of time. But during that time, trying to get caught up on a number of issues, I've noticed that there's so many things that either smack of insubordination or incompetence that I can't just sweep them under the rug. The fact that we have relied so much on HUD for our direction, and it has come, in many cases, create conflict between executive director, employees, and the board, is not healthy. Now, I'm not sure why that relationship has been generated. Is it because executive management wants to use HUD as a shield used for subordination, or is it because they don't really understand the function of their job and they're looking for someone to tell them what to do? Also, there are other items to be working on the healthcare last time. There was, the inference was the 45 days. I asked specifically about that. There was no general answer saying that 45 days was not required. I worked on the assumption that it was, well, it turns out it wasn't.
I had verification that it was, and that it changed after I sent out the RFPs will be seen and changed that we have verification of.
We ended up selecting a vendor as a result that provided less coverage at a slightly higher cost. And that, to me, based on the fact that we were not given any opportunity to view the data ahead of time, was either from incompetence or an ability or a desire to minimize the information that we did have. Commissioner Gobies, who was my predecessor, had requested information regarding a number of transactions that had taken place over the previous 6 months or so. From what I understand, most of that information came piecemeal, was not thorough, some of it was even redacted. That tells me that there's either some attempt to cover up or that somebody's incapable of providing the information that we requested, which says possible incompetence. I recently received communication from Reed Manor Resident Council. It's obvious that the council is misinformed on a number of issues. For instance, the mayor is my nephew, not my cousin. And Michelle is a female, not a male. But this information, in addition to being somewhat misinformed, there should have been some attempt by the people in the Housing Commission that work in the day-to-day operation of these folks to explain to them some of the things that are fact that would delay their fears that they're going to lose their housing. Number one, these buildings are not going to evaporate overnight. And number two, as long as they stay in good standing with HUD and can show the need, they're going to get their funding. These people should have been told that. Don't worry about it. You're going to have your housing. I get a letter that states that the anxiety level is unbelievable. And I blame, to a certain extent, the people in this building for not keeping the people informed of what's going on and not allaying their fears. And that, to me, is not doing the job properly. Overall, this conflict that we have right now is not good for conducting our business on a daily basis. And the only way that we can probably clear the problem up is to move forward with the motion that has been made by the president. Thank you.
One on the interim executive director. I never had any intention on applying for the position. I just stepped in from the assistant director to the interim because they appointed me.
Okay.
And all these things that are occurring were way before me.
Okay.
But they've also been occurring during the tenure.
I mean, I can control like what the tenant council does or what they say.
You can talk to them and just allay their fears.
We have, I mean, they attend the board meetings. We have. And I've always said they're not gonna lose their housing. And they're not. And I've never made them think that they were. So that's totally false.
I would like to say the majority of things that happened were before Kim was appointed interim. A lot of this she just walked into because there was no direction on the board when Mr. Hill left. So if you're making a motion to terminate her as the ED, then who runs the Housing Commission until, as of last minute meeting, Ms. Orthos, you took, that appointing, hiring a new executive director. How is that coming?
It's good, I've got about 13, could be 14 applications. I have the end date set for June 21st, so we won't be looking at applications until after June 21st.
So we have another special meeting then to look at applications as well?
No, we'll convene a group, a small group to review the application and maybe do some preliminary interviews and then bring the I guess, maybe 2 or 3 people that appear to be the best that aim for an interview with the entire board.
So I would suggest that this, be part of this initial interview group for our
you know, these are totally false. All I have done is step in and do the job. I haven't been fighting for a title or a position, just doing the job. And that's all that I have done since stepping into this position when Mr. Hill resigned.
Now, in doing the job, since you stepped into the position, we have documented insubordination, inciting and encouraging discord among board members, withholding information from the board to make informed decisions, taking steps to separate us from the city without board authorization, diminishing the board's authority, non-feasance, destroyed the trust of the board in the executive director position, and severely damaged, not that you did it all yourself, but a 50-year amicable working relationship with the city of Jackson.
What did I do to do a separation? I never did anything for a separation.
You went and you did the RFPs for the healthcare. You did, you went to get the extra auto insurance or the separate auto insurance. Those are actions taken to separate from the city.
Well, that's what I did after. I just asked for an auto loss. I hadn't did anything to procure auto service until I was told that we no longer were going to be covered under the city. Prior to the RFP, the previous board knew from the letter from HUD about the zero threshold that we had to procure healthcare services. And
You know, it didn't require you had to. It just said if you do, you have to follow procurement.
right, they said that we had to go out and re-procure the services for healthcare because they said that it was not procured properly. And that we had to re-procure services for healthcare.
Healthcare has never been switched. There was no procurement actually done.
Right, there was, and that's the reason why we were placed on the zero threshold. I have the letter right here. Why we were placed on zero threshold was because we failed to procure procurement requirements.
And that's because, and this doesn't pertain to you, but that was because of actions taken by Mr. Hill to obtain healthcare insurance to separate from the city. And in continuing to do so, you will continue to go out and get more healthcare to separate from the city. It just continues that separation process.
But Mr. Birch also asked me at the April 17th meeting, after the RFPs had been sent out, because they knew that we were going to procure the services, he asked me, how was the procurement process going for healthcare? So the board did know, they received this letter. They knew that we had to procure those services. They knew Mr. Hill had procured payroll. He did that while the previous board was still present. So it wasn't right at all that I just went out and sent out an RFP for healthcare on my own. In no way. In no way.
And these are things that were already in motion before Ms. Truman came on. These are things that Mr. Hill had already set in place, so I feel that she's being reprimanded for his actions. He chose, for whatever reason, after the landlord-tenant disagreement and after we had sat with the city 3 times, and Mr. Birch himself said it was not about the landlord registration fee, it was about the monies. They needed Jackson Housing Commission's monies. That's what we were told to our face, this board sitting, not this board, but we were told that by the city. And then Mr. Hill decided, he contacted HUD to ask them, what is the proper procedure? We contacted other housing commissions who had separated from their city municipalities. So it was not anything that was done behind anybody's back or whatever. He had begun these because he felt it was in the best interest, HUD felt it was in the best interest. Ms. Truman came in after Mr. Hill had already started all this. So HUD had directed her to continue to procure these services because Mr. Dobies and Mr. Birch sat on this board. And because of the way the mayor removed the board members that were here previously. Catherine Martin had just got reinstated to her new term 2 weeks before she was removed without notice. As you say, ask for a resignation from board members, that was never done. That was never done. The mayor did not notify Mr. Terrence Anderson or Mr. Trent Harris or Ms. Catherine Martin that they were being removed from this board. Mr. Anderson, they did not even know until the morning of the board meeting when new board members are being set. So it was the way the city went about doing this. We felt like it was going behind the board's back then to, without notice. Catherine Martin was the president of this board for several years. She was not notified that she was being replaced. So this is where all the dissension came about. This is where all the unclearness came about as to if it's the mayor can do what he wants. He can approve it, but like you said, ask for resignation. That was not done. So that is when all the dissension, all of the conflict came about as to why not in a public meeting, why not notify these board members who have been on this board long before me and had conducted business with Mr. Fracker for years. So I'm feeling of the point that these are things that came about before she was even in place. She's following the direction of what was given her on her, when you walk into a position, I mean, whatever the person before you did, you have to work about correcting that. I don't feel she's had time to do that because of all the requests of this, that, this, and that. I feel like she's answering for Mr. Hill's actions of what he did before, so she's just following, HUD did the same thing. Per Mr. Hill, HUD said go ahead and procure the services because the city already, it was a conflict with them sitting on the board. To come here and to vote twice about, you work for the city, of course you're going to do what's in the best interest of the city. So that's where the conflict was created. You cannot sit on this board and make decisions about what goes on here, then go downtown to the city and make the same decision again. That's where the conflict ended, Mr. Starr.
I understand what you're saying there. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I hadn't thought that much about it because I wasn't aware of the total circumstances that take place. My guess is, however, that the people that were appointed to replace the individuals that you addressed were voted on by the city council prior to them assuming that role. So it was not as if it had been something that was under wraps. The city council had to vote those people in this board. So it should not have been a total surprise.
Well, it was.
I guess and I don't expect everybody going to every city council meeting. I think that'd be a waste of time. Like 99% of them.
I think that it's totally
But no.
false and saying that I'm insubordinate for sending out a RFP.
I-
That the board clearly, I never even sent out an RFP before, and I wouldn't just send out an RFP to just send one out.
Ms. Truman, there's nothing I said that was personal. What I said was possibility of this or that. But in each case, when you add up all the possibilities, it came to me that this just isn't working. And that's why, in my mind, we would be better off to try and move in a new direction. And hopefully, we can make amends at some point, Pat, Arlene, make sure that the members that are on this board can work together to do what I had said earlier, which is to do what's best for the tenants that we represent, the assets of the city that we control, and our relationship with HUD, to make sure that that stays on an even keel basis. And that's one of the reasons that the city manager asked me to sit on this. And he did that because I sit on the planning commission in addition. And he told me, I expect you to go in and be the same objective person that you've been on the planning commission and working with these people. So that's why I'm here. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be objective about this and do what's best for all parties involved.
Well, I don't know if they're actually doing what's best. I mean, because even with the city manager and Nobody's sent an email to Katie offering her the position, saying that because of their interactions with me were dissatisfying. And so when they appointed me to the board, it wasn't because they wanted to or because I was qualified. They wanted someone else that was female, white, younger and less qualified. So for you to come here today saying that I'm being
Do you
insubordinate,
have proof of
yes,
those
I do.
statements?
I do, I have an email.
Of just them asking Katie if she would be interested?
They then also stating about being dissatisfied with me, but then he turns around the same day and appoints me. And then
Do
she
you
made an
think
email
that
the
that
next day.
appointment was made to offer, extend an olive branch and try to repair some of the
No,
damages?
because actually the email that was sent on March 18th. 2 days later, March 20th, he appointed me, and I had never spoken with them in between that time. And had Bert said the same thing, that he was not going to appoint me unless I met with him, but like I said, I just stepped into this position to do the job. Evidently, it was known in writing that they didn't want me in it, so this really seems like a real setup to me.
Well, Mr. Birch, Mr. Dobies are no longer on this commission board,
But what they said still stands.
but I have been attending meetings since January, and in the inordinate amount of time I've spent in the past couple of weeks trying to deal with housing commission issues is just absolutely, it's unnecessary, it's unreal.
And I'm sure that that's been the same for you.
Yeah, it has, it's been, you know, I'm stepping into a position, you know, and I don't really feel like I have people that are working with me, it's more like it's against me. So it's become very personal.
Can I make a statement? Did you not work closely with Mr. Hill all through your tenure with the business?
Yeah.
How come all these other things just come as such a shock to you then?
What's kind of bullshit?
For the, this here insurance stuff, you should have known in front of that, if Mr. Hill got all this information before he presented to the board before.
Mr. Hill I never saw when Mr. Hill presented any supporting documentation. I never saw where he ever supplied supporting documentation to the board. I mean, all my time of being, even before Mr. Hill, even with Mr. Fracker, I mean, that's just not how it was done, and that doesn't mean that's how it has to continue to be done. But there was never, when resolutions were presented, there was just not supporting documentation. I guess it was just based on the director or the executive director. Because even when Mr. Hill presented resolution 2013-5 in January, and the resolution prior to that, there was never any backup documentation, no supporting documentation.
And number two, I noticed in your statement here a moment ago, you threw in there ratios, that, likely to replace.
I mean, that's what
Wait a
it
minute, I'm
was.
speaking, please. This board has never shown any racial conflict in my interest. I mean, I don't get paid by the city, I don't get paid by you guys, I'm there as a taxpayer. And I've never seen a different color in you, or the board director, whatever. To me, you breathe just like I do that. And I just, Mr. Hill brought it in as he is leaving, he was put in a position to be feeling uncomfortable due to the racial system. And race has nothing to do with this here.
I mean,
But people
never
bring it up,
been black.
every board meeting we have is brought up by someone. And it shouldn't be.
But I mean, I'm just saying how I made to feel I've dealt with it before, and I do feel like I'm dealing with it now.
I feel that she says that because Mr. Fracker ran this agency, Mr. Fracker practically did what he wanted to do. And never, ever, even when Mr. Fracker sat on as the ED, there was never all of this documentation, all of this emails and all of this, it was never done. It was never done.
That's stuff that should have been done.
Yeah, maybe it
Keep
should have been,
everybody
but
informed
for
and
35
all.
years, it was not done.
Yeah, but
So in
back
Mr.
35 years ago, we didn't have computers to do it.
But I'm just saying, yeah, we came into the computer age in the last few years, but I'm just saying it was never done that way. So when the next executive director came in, they patterned it right after what was going on. Mr. Hill approved quite a number of things, and brought the agency into the now, to today. A lot of things that were done were outdated. As far as like, even with petty cash, money on hand, residents being able to pay their rent by cash, or Mr. Hill brought all that into me, that you no longer, as accountability, no longer cash is on hand like that. You now have to either use your debit card, get, automatically your rent paid, or pay by money order or check. A lot of things that were done were outdated when Mr. Fracker was here. So for the next director that came in, had to do a lot of cleaning up.
I understand.
So I'm feeling like the process of hiring an ED should be moving right along, whether, once again, my question is, if you are making a motion to terminate the interim, who's going to run the agency? That's not a good idea. So what I would say is move forward, get an ED in place as quickly as possible. That is supposed to have been the way it was going from last meeting. I think that would be in the best interest of the agency. To leave the agency unattended would not be very smart. And then just to appoint anyone who does not know what's going on, have public housing experience, or know anything about Section 8 or any of the way the grants are run or anything like that, that's not good business, good policy at all, for any business. So, one person can't do two jobs. You understand what I'm saying? So, for you to not have a person in place to step in that knows the day-to-day, that knows the business, it's not good for the housing commission.
Well, I would say if we're ready to consider this motion, we should take a vote. And I do have another motion afterwards to address your concerns.
And can I get the verbiage on the motion again, please?
My motion was made to terminate Kim Truman immediately in the Jackson Housing Commission. Seconded. I'll do the roll call vote. I don't want to put Mr. Truman through that. Okay. You're okay? All right.
Commissioner Stark,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis-Scott,
No.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Montgomery,
Yes.
Commissioner Waters.
Yes. And I also have another motion. I have talked with Mr. Fracker. He's agreed to come in for about a 6 months or less temporary basis to run the day-to-day operations. 20 to 30 hours a week, just to make sure things are running smoothly. We have competent staff here that is able to do their jobs without a director here full-time for a short term. And I move that we negotiate with Mr. Fracker to work with us for a period of 6 months, give or take, as soon as we can get an executive director hired, we can release him. Is there a second to the motion?
Is there any,
We need to have a second before
I'll
we
second.
discuss. Okay, thanks, Jerry. You can go ahead and discuss now.
okay, is he coming in, what kind of salary is he gonna expect and benefits? and all
That,
this,
well,
or what's it gonna
there
be?
won't be benefits because he's retired. He receives a stipend for healthcare and cancer is covered there. We haven't negotiated a salary, but it wouldn't be very much because he wants to stay below whatever limit it is that he has to stay below in order to collect Social Security or pension or whatever it is. It would be a fairly nominal, pay.
When will he be available to take this position?
I would need to talk to him once the board approves.
Commissioner Nichols, I have a question.
Yes.
So you're telling this board that you came in today with no intention of relieving Ms. Truman from her job, that you already talked to Mr. Fracker?
I don't don't think she paid me anything, there was no intention.
And here, I asked Ms. Orthos, with this board, you came in with the intention today of relieving Ms. Truman of her duties because you've already talked with Mr. Fracker.
The motion I made was a decision came after significant consideration and prayer to do the right thing for the Housing Commission, for the employees, for the tenants. And as you stated, it wouldn't be right should the board have approved the termination as they did to leave the Housing Commission without some director in place. So I did speak with Mr. Fracker.
Okay, but you keep saying the best interest of the employees and the tenants. The employees and the tenants, from my understanding, are not in agreement with that. And most of them are here.
Really, because there's like 543 units, so
Right.
there are not 543.
No, there's not, but I'm talking about employees.
Okay.
Have you spoken with employees?
No, I'm not required to speak to employees.
But I'm
This
saying
board-
you
This
speak.
board is directed to do what is best for the Housing Commission. This is what I feel is best for the Housing Commission to move on.
Oh, no, I just question because you keep saying you're doing what's best for the employees and the tenants. If you've not spoken to them, you cannot speak for them. That's what I'm saying.
It is my, the right word right now.